camera.
Hi, camera.
Good job.
Babies get sick very often. My parents didn't think anything of it at first, and, they did some tests and they found out that I had meningitis, and I became deaf shortly after. Obviously I don't remember it at all. A lot of people ask me, were you born deaf? And I was like, no. And they're like, oh, if they're so fascinated to hear that, this a sickness can take away my hearing, like in both ears completely. My name is Griffin Martin. I'm 23 years old, and I'm a deaf lacrosse player.
Okay, listen.
Mommy.
We'll do those next. We will. Ready? Hand. Hand. Which one?
I wasn't going to leave Griffin. I did not see the light of day while he was in the hospital. Once we found out that it could be deafness, I'm like, okay, that's nothing. That would be okay. We'll deal with that. He will be fine. Him getting sick I'll never forget what that was like, because it was very terrifying. He was only 4 months old. And of course we didn't know what he had. We just knew that he had developed a high fever. The one thing that sent us in to get him checked out was when we would flex his head down, or when I went to change his diaper, if I would bend him up. So any kind of flexion of his spine and neck, he would scream. It was extremely painful for him. So that's when we suspected that he had meningitis. I remember calling all through the night. And then first thing in the morning, as soon as we could, I rember him laying in bed with us, head on the pillow, propped up, and us on either side. And I was just waiting for morning to come to call the doctor, and brought him to the pediatrician, and they sent us directly to the emergency room. They kept saying to us, initially they didn't know that it was meningitis, and they said, it should be okay.
Can you push? Yay!
Yeah, it was hard for me to be away. My daughter Logan was 22 months, and our older son Alex had just turned 4. So they were still pretty young. I felt very confident having Rob at home with them. He was very capable of taking care of their needs.
He knows.
One time, this is the hot dog restaurant.
He had meningococcal bacterial meningitis. So it's the meningococcal bacteria, and that actual bacteria causes ear infections and colds, and a lot of people get it. So it doesn't mean you're going to get meningitis, but what happened with him is it somehow broke that barrier, went into his bloodstream, and then into his cerebrospinal fluid, which is the fluid that surrounds your spinal cord and your brain. So he had an inflammation or an infection within that area.
Kanga. He jumps. He hops. Yes, good boy.
He could feel vibrations for low sounds and loud sounds.
Do you hear that? Yes, it's the clock. Yes.
And my daughter, who was a toddler at the time, was behind him with the toy drum and was banging, like we were trying to see. Oh, I hear that. And, teach him how to turn to find the sound. And there was nothing, no response whatsoever, even with his hearing aids in. So we just learned sign language because we knew that there was a probability that he wouldn't be able to use his residual hearing, that there wasn't enough access to sound for him to learn English.
The mouse. Mouse.
So I took time off and educated myself in everything I possibly could related to deafness and cochlear implants and language.
Good. And if he's looking at me, I can say good.
Right.
And then I go good.
Yes, right. Exactly.
You want more?
Say it first to give him the auditory.
Waking up before 6 a.m. is really hard, but I realized that the team, myself, we're not going to get better if we don't put in the work every morning at practice, regardless of how early it is. I know that I'm the kind of person that once I just wake up, I'm up, I'm ready to go, I'm ready to take on the day.
Let's talk about offensive side of this real quick, okay? Specific to this young man here. I want to show the difference between the game before this, right, that he played, and going back to it. How many games was he hot?
I think lacrosse means pretty much everything to me. I feel like I've always seen myself as a lacrosse player. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Actually, I yell out what to do because one of the captains assigned me that, because if I'm yelling out the stretches, that's when I know what to do.
1, 2, take!
When I was doing like my homework with him. And of course it changed as he got older, because in the beginning it was like mostly signing.
Griffin, Mom, and Dad.
Where sometimes we would sign because we were just teaching him and wanted him to learn and have access or to be included. And then there were specific times where I would not sign so that he would be working on his listening.
You listening?
Who's going to sleep?
Who's going to sleep?
Ethan's going to sleep.
Oh, Ethan is going to sleep. Okay, who else?
I'm going to sleep.
Destiny's going to sleep. Okay.
That's going to take a bath.
Oh, is Destiny taking a bath first? And then
I had to learn how to help him with his habilitation when he got his implant. So like from him being very little, like I remember every night sitting on the floor with him in his bedroom, and we'd have these picture cards, and I'd have this like screen that I put over my mouth.
which one?
You put a screen in it where like the sound can all get through so you're not muffled. I had to use that so he couldn't see my mouth. And I would make a sound that correlated to the picture. Like it would be like moo if it was a cow, and I would say, what's moo? And he couldn't see. He just had to listen and then point to the picture. Like I have all those videos.
Listen, ready? Hi. Hi. Is that boy saying hi? That boy, he says hi. He says hi. Hi.
Sometimes we use marshmallows. Sometimes we use like his preferred snacks, and sometimes like jelly beans and things that weren't healthy. And sometimes I would use like little pieces of cereal. We just made it a game to make it more fun for him, so he got probably more treats than the other kids did.
What's this one? What's this one doing?
How?
Wash,
Wash.
hand,
Yes.
comb,
Cold.
coat,
Cold.
hat,
Hack.
walk,
Lock.
moon.
When we first started out, they came and they tested him because he can't hear, that he was going to need help with his speech and language skills.
That's good. That's your spoon.
Her name's Gloria. It was really so helpful because she came to our home and she didn't just like help Griffin and do therapy on Griffin. She worked with our whole family and taught us what we needed to do to support and help him.
Griffin, open. All right.
She specialized in the very young kids. So it's just like a specialized teacher that works with deaf students.
You want to put frosting on your cookie?
We kind of called her a teacher. He was eligible due to his diagnosis to have someone come in and work with him until he turned 3. And then it changes to a different funding source, and he got therapy through the schools. What do you want?
Did he sign?
Bear.
Bears. I have some bears. Yes.
He didn't want the interpreter. So he didn't want to be different. He didn't want to be like called out and for people to know, oh, that's the kid. That's why that lady's up in the front signing everything.
Fan. Fan.
When I was probably 3 years old, but I was also doing some things on the side with other speech and hearing therapists. Like I remember, my mom showing videos of me, with another therapist.
Some chicken. Oh, nice looking. Chicken. Chicken.
My mom helped me a lot You know, she took time off of work to help me develop my speech, you know, help me learn sign language, help me communicate.
Let's go out and let her go.
Good talking, Griffin. Look at mommy. Boom, 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 boom.
Boing, boing, boing.
Good try. Dumb,
You know, it was very hard not to be insecure about it. You know, I'm 6 years old, you know, other kids are, you know, looking at me like, who's this woman signing?
This fence. Nice try. Good boy.
I remember nobody would want to sit with me at lunch because, you know, sometimes, I don't know why, you know, they just didn't know who I was, like, but, you know, they probably thought I was, like, a little bit weird, you know, but I remember, like, you know, being, like, 6 years old and feeling that sense of, like, being left out by your peers, you know, that's something that was uncomfortable growing up. But then, you know, as I started to make more friends, you know, especially in the neighborhood, I became more included over time. I was playing football, baseball, basketball, all that. I think that's something outside of school that allowed me to make more friends, you know, over time. Another huge part of it was my dad actually started the Youth Lacrosse Association in my school district. So my dad handed me a lacrosse stick. You know, I remember throwing it down right away. Like, I was like, I hate this. But then once it became a hobby and I realized how skilled I could become at it, that's when I realized that, like, lacrosse could be the sport for me. When I went off to college, you know, that was a huge transition for me because not having that familiar face on the sideline to help me understand everything that was going on, that was really hard. Well, my whole entire life, he was on the sidelines for me. You know, he was my club coach. He was my youth lacrosse coach. He was my high school head coach. But even when he wasn't involved with the team, you know, for like other club organizations, he would, you know, stand on the sideline, you know, make sure that I understood everything. You know, he was always there to facilitate everything for me.
They didn't really know the extent of his hearing loss. The first cochlear implant was done when he was not quite a year. And I think I'd taken care of the kids. I took care of the other two at home. And
If you want.
anchovies.
Oh, chewy. Okay. Daddy, here.
He's been competitive for as long as I remember. Wanted him to do something different, so we tried lacrosse, and I would buy some sticks and play, and his friends would pick up the sticks and play, and he'd sit to the side and not play.
Rob was an integral part. You know, in the beginning, we signed a lot more to him.
Silver?
That's gold. Silver's with an S.
Silver?
We kind of just embraced that and took classes, and I went to college for it. Like, I just did all the stuff, you know. And then Rob and I even, like in the beginning, we would have little date nights on Wednesday nights, and we would go to the School for the Deaf and take their sign language classes.
Anchovies? I love anchovies on my pizza. Can you get me some chicken wings? Having hearing aids, a little baby. It's like 6 months old and having little hearing aids on him, and he would just flop off all the time.
Pull them out, eat them, put them in his mouth.
Where's it
She's taking your picture.
Camera, right? Or picture.
I'm going to school for biomedical engineering. One of my senior design projects for my class is it's kind of like a spin-off of Dance Dance Revolution. We're calling it Dance Dance Rehabilitation. It basically looks like a game where you stand on one square, and whenever one square lights up, you have to jump to that square. I feel like it's the career path that can help me impact the most lives. You know, being a deaf athlete, I feel like the realm of biomedicine is something that I can relate to the most, having a cochlear implant and always being so interested in the anatomy of the human body and how to improve it. My team has 3 athletes. Lizzie is on the women's lacrosse team, me and Cohen are on the men's lacrosse team, and then we have another group member, Natalie.
Get electrical, take 1.
But it helps to have athletes because we know a lot about rehabilitation. We have to rehab our bodies, and we've been doing that for as long as we've been playing sports. I wouldn't say it's very hard to work with me, but it can be a bit of a learning process to work with me, to learn how to engage in conversation with me. But, they've done a wonderful job of making sure I'm included with everything. And overall, I think we all worked well together. It's going to be important, and it's going to help me for when I have to work with teams in my professional life. As an athlete, if your mind isn't in the right place, then your body won't follow. If your mind believes that your body can do something, you are far more likely than saying, I don't know if I can do this. If you doubt yourself and you don't think you can do it, then you're probably not going to be able to do it. I've learned that the hard way, probably thousands of times by now. For me, my mind tells my body, play as hard as you can, play as fast as you can, as physical as you can. And if you do that, you won't have time to think about you messing up. For those people out there who don't think they can do it, if I can do it, you most certainly can. I think ultimately I just want to prove people wrong, and that's what keeps me going. I always want to be the best I can be. When I take my implant out and I put my helmet on, that's when I know it's game time.
Only thing that's on my mind is who's gonna run this town tonight.
Yeah, I say that we are. This is Rock Nation. Pledge your allegiance.
The worst disability in life you can have is a bad attitude.